Everyone, this is Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 1023. Happy Wednesday, hump day. I hope everyone's having a great day today. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. So fans, please tune in. You can ask questions on our Spreaker app. And we are joined by a really special guest. Her name is Toni Wetmore. She's an in-game host and video creator for Oklahoma State University Sports. She does an amazing job with her journalism career so far. She's really inspiring. Obviously, women in sports, still the top discussion that we're talking about right now. And she, like I said, she represents women in sports in a big way. And what an inspiring story. And I can't wait to learn more about her, Toni Wetmore. And like I said, if fans tune in, this is going to be a good one. So, Toni, thank you for joining today. It's truly an honor. And how are you and your family doing today?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. We're doing great. So they're back home in Connecticut. I'm here in Oklahoma at school. So a little bit far away, but hopefully I'll be seeing them soon for when I move out into my new place. So
yeah, so let's start with that. Obviously, families, especially in this type of business or any other business, family is really important. And how tough has it been for you so far being distant from your family, but in the same time, you're living out your dream and making positive vibes right now?
yeah, so it's definitely hard, but obviously technology nowadays, it's so easy to stay connected. So as much as social media can be a blessing and a curse, I can send them all that I'm doing and share with them, not just my parents, but my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. Just keep them up to date on what I'm doing without having to individually say, hey, this is what I'm doing. But it's definitely hard. There's times where, I wish that I could just drive home for the weekend. I know some of my friends have that luxury. I don't. It's a 23-hour drive with no stops and typically 2 to 3 plane stops on the way. So it's not an easy thing to just go home for the weekend. But that was one of the sacrifices I knew I was making when I chose to go to school 1,500 miles away. So, but yeah, we're doing great, and it's a little hard sometimes, but we make it work. So.
Yeah. So for you, when did you get interested in the sports industry, and who would you say been the biggest influencer in your life so far, and who did you look up to, especially women in sports?
Yeah, so I always played sports my entire life. Basketball is my main sport. I played it from kindergarten through my senior year of high school. And my sophomore year, I had a knee injury that I thought could potentially end my career for playing. And I wasn't ready to walk away from the game. I said, what type of things can I do to stay involved? And so the first thing I looked at was being an athletic trainer, and I shadowed one for a day, and I almost threw up when I saw him put an ankle back into place. So I said, okay, this is not for me. I'm not doing athletic training. And then I just kept kind of Googling sports majors. And so I found sports media, and I thought, well, I already talk about sports all day anyway. I might as well get paid for it. And so I just started to fall in love with that. And then once I got here to Oklahoma State, I knew that I was in the exact right place for it and in the exact right program. And then, sorry, what was the last part of that question?
Who did you look up to, like sports journalist wise, in the women's side?
Yeah, so Laura Oakman has been one of my mentors in recent months, and she's amazing. Talking to her, you wouldn't know how much she's accomplished. She's done Super Bowls. She was with Michael Jordan, the Bulls, but a big part of her philosophy is that you don't need to know any of that about her. What you need to know is her story and what she's been through and things like that. And that's something that I also wanted to get into once I was getting into sports was, okay, how can I be a storyteller and share the stories of the person inside of the athlete and not, oh, these are their statistics on the field. Well, what have they gone through off the field? And so that's something that she preaches is just get to know the who versus the what they do. So that's been a big thing for me is just what's finding my who. And she's really helped me do that along the way. So
she's a good person to learn from. She's one of the best, in my opinion, when it comes to covering football, and obviously amazing woman in the industry. And speaking of mentorship, let's speak on that, because some people think in this industry, you can do it all yourself, but you can't. You really need a person that can help you along the way. So like, for example, I'm living out my dream as a sports journalist also, like just like you. And my mentor, I got 2 mentors actually, Tina Servacio, if you know her, and then Ryan Field from ABC. They're both of my mentors. And can you speak on that? Like, how important is it? Tell our fans, how important is it to have a mentor in your life, especially in this industry?
Absolutely. It's so important. And even not just one person in particular that you go to, just to have other people around you as a network of those who support you, especially people who are going through the same things you are and doing the same things that you want to do. And so through Laura, I found Galvanize, which is her organization that really connects women in sports. And so through that, in the past 3 weeks, I've been in 2 rooms filled with 20 something other women who are in the exact same position I am, being a woman in sports. And it's just so refreshing to be able to walk into a room and say, I've been through this and I've been treated this way, or this has been said to me. And everyone in the room goes, oh my gosh, I know, me too. Like I've been there. And, it's easy to just talk about to someone who might not be in that position, but it's another whole different level when you walk in, you can say, I've been through this. And someone says, I know I've been there, and that they have. So it's definitely super important to just surround yourself with people who are in the same position as you for that kind of comfort. And I'm not going through this alone, or someone else has been through this, but also just to support each other because that person will have your back.
Wow. Yeah, so we are live with in-game host and video creator Toni Wetmore from Oklahoma State University. We already have a fan question for you. Yeah, we got fan interaction already. So one of our fans want to know, can you share some of your funny stories so far as a sports journalist?
So specifically as an in-game host, so this was the first year that we had students doing in-game hosting. So it was just kind of a new experience, a few different faces, or a few other girls who did it alongside me. And definitely was the birthday shout outs. We never really incorporated birthday shout outs, but sometimes we would, so basically how it works is that the in-game interns will pick whoever the lucky fan is or the season ticket holder, etc. And they just happen to keep picking lucky fans whose birthday it was without realizing. And so when I'd go up there and I'd say, oh, this is so-and-so and it's their 11th birthday, then everyone would start crowding the table and coming up to me like, can you announce this birthday, this one? And so people just did not have a great time hearing me say, no, sorry, it's just the luck of the draw, like one person gets selected. So and then probably my favorite story from hosting is we do the junior PA, which is where someone who's younger announces for a half inning all of the hitters.
Oh, wow.
And so I had one boy named Jacob on one of my games, and he proceeded to come back for the rest of my games for the season and ask, before I got there, he would say, I know Toni's hosting today. Can I be her junior PA today? So it was just funny because he was with me for most of my games. So kind of just became a part of it. And then in terms of just athletics, my former boss, Jessica Morey, who was our team reporter, we traveled to Arkansas for the Broyles Awards alongside Coach Jim Knowles. And so we were there representing Oklahoma State. And as soon as we left, the news broke that he was leaving to go to Ohio State. So everyone was texting us like, did you know you've been with him all week? Like, we had no idea. We were kind of like, yeah, it's crazy. We drove 8 hours to be with him, and he, just the next day wasn't even our coach anymore. So wow. I think that was just like one of the funniest things that has happened so far.
Yeah, so for you, take us back while you were playing, and obviously you mentioned earlier you had the horrific injury, and how tough is it for you? How tough was that time for you when you were dealing with that, had to recover and overcome that, and when they said you might not play again, how tough is that on you? And if you didn't get the injury, would you have been still playing sports right now?
Yeah, so I dislocated my knee the first night of tryouts freshman year for high school basketball. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to hinder my ability to play. But luckily I had been doing all the preseason workouts, so they knew that I could play and they knew my skill set. But then I had dislocated it again during a summer camp about 6 months later. So just the back-to-back was like, depending on how severe it is it going to be just keep dislocating to the point where I shouldn't play? So it was definitely frustrating. Basketball was everything to me. It was my safe space. If I had a bad day at school or just something going on in my life, I would just go to a basketball court and let myself just be free and play basketball. And that was the one thing in my life where I could just completely focus on it and not have any outside thoughts. I've had, people pass away in my life, and I've just gone right to a basketball court, like something even as serious as that, I can just get out of it by just getting in the zone of playing. So that was all my freshman and sophomore year. And then junior and senior year were tough for me mentally because I wasn't seeing a lot of playing time in high school. So I played AAU as well. So I traveled And in that, I had a really good experience. But senior year, my coach kind of told me that I did a really good job of bringing up the younger girls. And so she said to keep building the program. She was gonna kind of let them have more experience in play. And so that kind of set me back a little bit mentally, because it's like, okay, well, I'm helping other people, and in return, I'm hindering myself. And so I would say to her, what can I do to play? And she'd tell me, and I'd do it. And then I'd be like, okay, what can I do to keep playing? And so it just ended up just being really frustrating and mentally challenging. And I always said that once I lost my love for the game, I'd walk, because as much as I loved it, I didn't want to cheat it, and I didn't want to be doing it without the love. So that season, and I'd already started looking at Oklahoma State for just academics. So that season, I decided that I was just going to focus on sports media and not playing. And I finished out my senior year and chose Oklahoma State, which COVID hit like the day after, or the week after my last basketball game. So then it was kind of like, all right, well, I'm not playing anyway. There's no AAU, there's no whatever summer league. So and I have an email, I think it's probably still in my drafts, but I had drafted an email during my senior season to the coach of Oklahoma State saying, I'm going to be here for academics, and, can I use a walk on? But I never sent it. So, but
Interesting.
yeah.
So what did you bring to the game and obviously, like you said earlier, you didn't give up, you kept working hard, and that shows how type of player you are, a person in your life you are right now. And what did you bring to the game of basketball while you were not injured?
So I'd like to say my number one thing was my IQ. Didn't have to do with scoring or anything like that. I studied the game, and I would just watch film, my own, other players, professional level, college, other high school players that were more elite than my school and my teams. I just studied, and I would just go home, and instead of studying for a math test, I would be watching basketball. So it kind of was like, oh, maybe a little bit too much, but definitely my IQ. But in terms of skill set, shooting, I focused on just getting my shot. 3-pointers that was my thing. Like, I would just post up in the corner, and then whenever someone needed me, they'd kick it out and I'd get them with a 3. But so those were definitely, I'd say my IQ and my 3-pointers were my top skill sets. But to go a little bit off what you just said. So when I was going through that time where I wasn't playing, I was also a captain. So I was a senior captain. I wasn't even playing. I lost my starting spot to a sophomore. And so I talked to my personal trainer, and I said, I want to quit. I don't want to play anymore. I'm not even playing. And he told me, he said, you're going to go through something in life where you earned a job and you're working super hard and you deserve it, and someone else is going to get it. And he said, especially being a woman in sports, you're going to find out quickly that you don't always get what you deserve. And he said, go through this experience and learn that you can learn your lessons, and you can live, and you can move on from it. And so sure enough, I'm learning from other people and things that are happening that's the case. So I'm glad that he gave me that advice. So if there's anyone else listening out there who's struggling with something, whether it's sports or anything in life, just know if you can push through it, push through it.
Wow. Yeah, and we have another fan question. Someone wants to know what is your most memorable interview so far you have done?
Kelly Masters. She is a sports agent for football players and professional football players. And she came to talk to all of the female athletes at Oklahoma State, I believe in the spring of this year. I think it was a few months ago. And so because of athletics was there shooting some photos, I got to go alongside my boss. And so beforehand, they let me do 3 questions with her on camera. And I had never done an on-camera interview before.
Wow.
I had interviewed for people who were on camera, but I had never been standing with the mic as well. And this is, I think, before I started hosting. So I just was not super experienced with on camera and having the microphone. I didn't even know how to hold it right. But yeah, and she was great, and she told me my questions were great, so that made me feel good because I just come up with them like right before she walked in. So now I know better preparation, but I would say that one just because she's a super powerful woman in sports, and it was my first real interview. So
that's amazing. Yeah, so speaking of schools, you looked at a really top schools: Syracuse University, Clemson, South Carolina, and Oklahoma State. So how tough is it for you deciding with all those top-notch colleges, in my opinion, for them? And then what decided? I mean, what was a key factor for you to choose Oklahoma State over those colleges?
Yeah, so Syracuse I knew was instantly out because I just hate snow, and being from Connecticut right next door, I was just tired. I didn't think Oklahoma had snow, so I ended up finding a little bit anyway, but not quite what I would get in Syracuse. So just because of the weather, I was like, Syracuse isn't for me. And I knew I wanted to be far from home. I knew that just I needed to grow, and I would do that in a place that I hadn't been in before. With Clemson, I never actually got a chance to go visit campus. Once I visited Oklahoma State, I kind of made my mind up. But Clemson is something that I wish that I still had explored, but I mean, I'm in the right space for me. But and then it was kind of just once I stepped on campus, I toured a lot of schools in high school. I started freshman year. I was very eager to just get going and look at schools. And so once I got to Oklahoma State, it's like I stepped on campus and I finally felt that feeling that they always talk about, like, oh, you're home once you step on campus and you can see yourself. And so I'd look, in front of Boone Pickens Stadium, our football stadium, and I'd say, oh my gosh, I see myself like going into a game, and, let alone, I didn't know that I'd be working the games as soon as I was, but and then things like that, like, oh, I could see myself studying in front of that tree and things like that. So, and everyone was just super friendly. And a big factor for me too was there was probably 200 people in my tour group that day, and then there were 7 tour guides, and so they split us up just in the section where we were sitting, and I was put in the sports media group. That's who my tour guide was. There was no correlation. I didn't seek him out. It was randomly put in the only sports media tour guide group. So I was like, okay, I feel like that's a sign, because I was able to ask questions about this program specifically, and especially once I saw how amazing the housing is on campus. I was like, oh, okay, this is somewhere I can be for sure.
Wow. And then I'm sure, I mean, that's amazing. They already had their things planned out, and for you guys, and obviously they separated. They didn't ask people, so they already had you separated in your Pacific field, huh?
It was just where we were sitting in the room. So they had no idea I was a sports media. I had, engineering and biology majors in my group. I was the only sports media. So it was just luck of the draw that I got put with sports media based on where I had sat in the room. So.
We have another fan question. Someone wants to know what's your go-to snack?
My go-to snack. Ooh.
Yeah.
I want to say goldfish. I feel like they're just super easy. You can get the snack size bags and take them with you, or you can get the whole size and just eat, and they're not too much. If you eat too much, then you might get a little bit sick, because I love them so much. I'll go a little bit overboard, but if you have them in the right portion, then they'll fill you up, and it tastes really good. So
Yeah. So what's the experience like been for you so far at Oklahoma State? Obviously, you mentioned the football field, amazing campus, great program for sports, and they're a great football program led by head coach. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike Gandia, right? Still there?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So what's that been like for you, the experience there?
Yeah, so I didn't start working in athletics until spring of my freshman year. So first football season, I was just a fan, and it was still an amazing experience. And it was when we had all the COVID protocols, so only a certain amount of students were let in, but I always got in because I would go right at the minute that you could go and get your tickets. I would choose it. So, and it's a different environment than I've ever been around. I had never been to a college football game in the South. Wow. And so just, especially out here at Oklahoma State, just the Cowboy family runs deep, and it's like everyone bleeds orange, and I mean that. And I never liked the color orange in terms of wearing it, but as soon as I decided I was coming here, that's pretty much all I own for t-shirts, is just either black with orange on it or an orange t-shirt. So but yeah, and then I started working, and like I said, I interned for our sideline our team reporter, and so I would just help her, and I started towards the end of the season, this past season, taking pregame photos and learning how to edit them. So I was able to kind of add photography into my arsenal as well. But yeah, so it was just a really cool experience to be down there. And obviously being in athletics in the department every day, you get to meet the coaches and the players, so build some relationships with them. So it was nice to be able to walk on a field, and even, the security guards, I have some inside jokes with them. So walk in the field, and one of them always tells me that I need to wear more sunscreen than anyone else. So I'll walk in and be like, do you have sunscreen on? Because my very first game, I got so burnt. I'm like, yes, I have sunscreen on. So things like that, where it's just like building those relationships. And then when you walk on the field and you just can hear the crowd from down there, it's incredible. It's something that I can't even describe. You just have to kind of experience it. Not even from the field, but just in the stands. The energy is unmatched. So
And yeah, tell our fans about like the nightlife there. Like after games, obviously they party a lot. I'm sure Oklahoma State University, and obviously after a big win, I'm sure they had parties. So tell our fans about the nightlife there. What's it like there?
Yeah, so all the bars are 21 and up. So I'm still 20. So until April, I will not be there. But yeah, I mean, for me, I normally don't get out of the office until 1 a.m., midnight to 1 a.m. So by the time that I'm done, and I've been there since 11 in the morning, so I typically go home and go straight to bed. But I know a lot of people do; they'll go to the bars after and celebrate. And yeah, so I mean, it's just once you turn 21, I've heard this town is very fun, but I am waiting to find out. But yeah, so I would definitely say, I mean, I've been the DD to drop off my upperclassmen friends over there. So it's definitely, there's a lot of people that just as soon as the game ends, they're out at the bars, and we have many of them that you can choose from. So people bounce back and forth, but it's definitely a fun experience from what I've heard, and I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, so we have an interesting question now from one of our other fans. They want to know if you were in sports, what would you be doing now?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
So I started out with very different career paths growing up of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was younger. I just love animals. That's my passion, is just helping animals, one of them. And so I just realized one day I wouldn't have the heart to put any animals down and see them in super rough conditions. So push that away. And then I watched the movie Legally Blonde in middle school, and I decided I was going to be a lawyer. And then once I found sports media, I kind of pushed that aside. But I volunteer at an animal shelter every day. And so I kind of see like that side of things. So I feel like running some sort of animal rescue would be something that I would want to do. Definitely something with animals for sure. But I feel like running a dog rescue / cat rescue, whenever, I think that's what I would do, something with that. It's my other passion other than sports, is animals. So
Nice. Yeah, so tell our fans what goes into being a video creator. Obviously, it takes a lot of work. For me, we're content creators for FanDuel also, so we make videos for FanDuel and for you. So how it takes we experience it. It takes a long time to make videos, like to make it perfect for whatever company you work with. But for you, how long does it take you? Go in depth. What do you do with the being a video creator?
yes, so it's obviously hard work, and I'm a perfectionist, so I have to get every single second perfect. But I've done a few different things recently. I just did a Title IX video to celebrate the 50 years. And so what goes into when I do those type of projects is I sit down and I'll do the interviews off camera, but I'll do the interviews and then I'll listen back and I'll pull the quotes that I want, and then I'll have to just search through our server for the B-roll, and then I have to put it all together. So depending on the length of the video, if it's like that video was I think 3 minutes, and it took me probably an hour and a half to 2 hours, which doesn't seem like that necessarily long of a time, but when you account for that it's only 2 minutes and 53 seconds, it's like, okay, it's 2 hours for 2 minutes. But yeah, so it depends on the length of the video. I had one video this past semester. I edited the Spirit banquet video, so the cheer squad and the pom squad. And so it was a 41-minute video. And so the export on that in itself was so long. But so with those, I sat down and I did the interviews with all the seniors, and then I went back and it was a little bit easier because I didn't have to put B-roll over, but I just had to put all their answers in and then white flash in between. But that one took me probably, I'd say around 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours over the span of a week, but yeah, so I wanted to make sure it was perfect and that their banquet went smoothly. So I did the best that I could to just make it the best video. And so they were super appreciative. So it worked out because it was what they wanted. So, but yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And the length of how long it will take me kind of varies on how many minutes that is or what the content is. But yeah, I'd say around an hour a minute would probably be a good way to put it.
Yeah, so like for us, when we make videos for FanDuel, it takes us like 4 or 5 hours, or even sometimes 6 hours, because we make everything right for them, and they send it out to them, to the other people. It's like you have to be like on task when you make videos like that. Was that the longest video you've done? so far?
Yes, the spirit video that was 41 minutes, yes, but it wasn't a lot of like I said, there was no b-roll. It was just kind of white flashes between answers. So but it was 5-minute interviews, so for like 14 people, so I just kind of had to splice. Some people spoke for longer and some didn't, so I just kind of had to go through and splice everything. And actually the project had crashed on the third or fourth person, so I ended up having to restart the whole thing, and I'd already made all the templates, so I had to remake all those. So that's why that one took a little bit longer too. But
Wow. Yeah, so for you, what's it like being up close and seeing the growth of each sport for Oklahoma State University? Obviously, the baseball team, women's basketball, men's basketball, football, and the other sports there, and then learning each player's personality on the field, off the field, and family wise. And what's that been like for you just to see the growth of that program for each?
yeah, it's incredible and I love it. And like I said, that's my favorite part. And my grandma actually sat me down when I came home for Christmas with a notepad and said, okay, tell me about this player and what's his story. And I was like, okay, like he's a mama's boy and he whatever, like, or like she, you know, she and her sister are super close. So things like that. And just to give her a little perspective of off the field. So she has a notepad, which is everyone's secrets and everyone's stories. But yeah, so that's just kind of my favorite part, is getting to know off the court, off the field. But it's a really cool experience, especially when I'll go home and I'll be visiting my family over the holidays and we'll still be playing. And so I'll get to turn on the TV and watch the games with my parents and say, oh, there's so-and-so. And oh, I had government with him, or oh, her and I have economics together, like things like that, where also just not only working with the team, but being a student myself. I'm going into my junior year this fall. So being a student, that's also, you know, these are my peers as well as the people that I work with. It's a pretty cool experience just to say, oh, these are my experiences with the people that are on my TV. So
so we got a couple more here, more fan questions here. One person wants to know, do you miss playing the game of basketball? And another person wants to know, what's your favorite music?
okay. So basketball, yes, I miss it a lot. Especially yesterday, I was helping out with some women's basketball recruiting shoots, photo shoots. And so I was telling our new head coach, Coach JC, that whenever I'm doing things like that, helping out with a photo shoot or I'm at practice or something like that, that's when I really get into that mode of, oh my gosh, I miss it and I want to play and this could have been me and blah, blah, blah. So I go back and forth a lot. I did play club basketball here this year. It was the first year of the program. So that was fun. We got to travel a little bit and just play competitively. So I had a lot of fun with that, but it was super time consuming. And so it was one of the things that I unfortunately am not sure if I'm going to be able to keep playing just because of the time commitment versus my job. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely play intramurals next year if I can't do club. Just try and stay involved a little bit. But yes, I definitely miss it. And there's days I miss it more than most days when I'm doing things with the team specifically. And then my music taste is pretty much everywhere. I like to say everything except for like heavy metal. I don't particularly find myself seeking that out. I never listened to country music until I got here. And I said, well, I'm living in Oklahoma. I'm going to need to know some sort of country music or at least learn how to appreciate it. So I like pop country. I'm not quite red dirt country yet, but I'm starting to get into it. And then rap, hip hop. I really like throwbacks. So throwbacks are probably, whether it's pop throwbacks or hip hop throwbacks or rap, like I just love throwbacks. And yeah, so I would say that's my music taste.
Like Tupac, Biggie, DMX.
Yes. I grew up, my dad, when I was always in the car with my dad, it was always DMX, Tupac. And then when I was in the car with my mom, it was Madonna. So whenever I go home and I'm in the car with them and I have the aux, I'm like, all right, well, I'm playing DMX or I'm playing Madonna with my mom. So, but yeah.
Have you gotten a chance to interview Mike Gandia yet? Coach Mike Gandia?
I have not. So before my boss left, she just did everything. So, but I've had a few conversations with him here and there. He actually brings his dogs to the studio sometimes on certain days of the week. And obviously I'm a huge dog lover, so I always stop and pet them. And I was in the elevator with him once and he was just asking me if I was going to class. And I said, I'm actually going to the animal shelter. And so I was petting his dogs, telling him that. So he was like, oh, that's cool. And he was asking me what I do there. So that's probably the extent of the conversations I've had with him, is the animal shelter one, and then just a hello in passing. But yeah, so he's a really good guy, and I hope to interview him maybe one day. We'll see. But yeah, coaches wise, I'm typically not the one doing the interviews right now. We're kind of doing a shift, so we'll see if anything comes out of that for me or not. But yeah, so but he's a good guy. I have not interviewed him yet, or on camera, but he's fun to talk to. So.
So as you know, the college baseball World Series is going on right now, and obviously Oklahoma State. Tell our fans, how did the Oklahoma State baseball team do this year? Obviously, you're up close in person watching them, and well, how do they do, and what do you like about their growth?
Yeah, so we started off super strong and then had a couple of lows here and there during the season, which, I mean, that happens, it's nothing. And we had a pretty good ending. And then we got into the regionals and we were able to host. So I worked those games, which I had to work the entire regionals. So I was working 14-hour days. So it was exhausting, but love what I do in sports. You commit to random times and long times. So, but yeah, and so regionals was fun. And we had, I think, the longest game. I don't want to misspeak on the statistic, but the game was over 5 hours and it was the longest game in something's history. So it was a lot. And I had to let my foster dog out. So that was not fun because I was like, oh no, she's going to have to go to the bathroom. But anyway, so yes, but they did really well. And they had a lot of great personalities on the team this year and some funny guys. Griffin Dorshing and Justin Campbell, we had them on the podcast. They were the baseball players that were on our Orange Car podcast this year. And they were hilarious. And Justin did some WWE intros. He was showing his knowledge on those. And it was entertaining to say the least, but there was a lot of good guys on the team this year. And I helped a little bit with the interviews that we did on the big board for those with some of them. I did the questions if I wasn't around, a couple other people did. And then I did the editing somewhat for those. I would cut them. And then Jared, who's one of our full times, would add in the effects and everything. So helping with those definitely made me appreciate the team more, just because I did get to know more about them off the field from doing those interviews and editing those interviews. But yeah, so disappointed in the ending, of course. You hate when you lose, but it was really good games that weekend. So it was a good ending, bittersweet, where it was great games, but tough to end that way, close game. So
so we have another fan question. Someone wants to know, have you had any bloopers yet?
Any hoopers?
Bloopers.
Oh, bloopers. Yes. So I have a million bloopers. Whenever I do any stand-ups, I always have something. And that's what on my Instagram, if I post a video of me doing something, it's going to be the blooper reel. That is definitely my favorite part because I hate taking myself seriously. And so I figure if I'm the one posting and saying, look, here's me messing up, then, everyone else who's out there saying, oh, I'm having too many takes. It's like, as long as you get the take that you need at the end and you have a great videographer who's not going to get annoyed with you, like mine is amazing. I have 40 takes and he'll be like, okay, like, let's go again. And, but yeah, definitely bloopers are my favorite part. And I'll always say, like, don't stop recording. Like, I'll figure out which take is okay. Like, just send me a whole one video and I'll pick out my bloopers from there. But yeah, I mean, I like not taking myself too seriously. So I like to show everyone else too, as well. Like, oh, this is where I messed up and look at how funny it is. So, but
yeah, our fans are bringing it today with the questions. I like it. But yeah, so obviously the Oklahoma State football team has a rich history. They produced a lot of players that went to the NFL. Like for example, Des Bryant used to play for the Cowboys. I loved him, but while he was in Dallas, and what a great player at Oklahoma State also, and now also in Dallas. And then you have another one, Devin Harper, who just got drafted by the Cowboys. And when did you get connected with him? And what's he like in person and off the field, and especially on the field? And what do you think he'll bring to Dallas now as a player?
So I just did the Galvanize. I've spoken a little bit before with Laura Oakman. So we had the Dallas Cowboys sponsor one of our camps this year. And so I got to go to that. And I had met Devin a few times just in passing. Like I said, I interned for our reporter. So whenever she would do anything with him, I would go and I would talk to him, or not talk to him, but I would just go and then I'd say hello. And that was the extent of our conversations. And so when I went and I walked into the conference room for the camp that we did, I sat down and I said, hi, I don't know if you recognize me, but I'm from Oklahoma State. And he was like, no, I know who you are. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And like, we're good. And so our task, I don't want to spoil too much about Galvanize because I love when women are like, what are we doing? And it's like, you have no idea, you have to just experience it. But when the conversation that you have with the player happens, you're just supposed to get something about what they've been through out of them. And he would not budge. And he was like, I'm not doing this. And I was like, yes, you are. Let's just come on. Like, so he eventually did give me a little something to work with. But afterwards, then he asked me if we could FaceTime Jessica, who I interned for. And so we called her, and I was making fun of him that he didn't give me any info. And so she's like, come on. But anyways, so that's when I started to really see his personality, other than when the time that I really needed to. But yeah, so just rooting for him. I told him to let me know he's back in Stillwater in case there's anything that we need to do with him. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. He definitely was underrated completely in his college career. Obviously Malcolm Rodriguez is great, and he got all the attention as the linebacker this year, which he should. He was amazing as well. But I feel like people put all the focus on Malcolm, and people didn't really look at Devin as much either. And that's why when the combine invitations came out, Malcolm got one, Devin didn't. So that was a big part of kind of a chip on his shoulder too, was not getting to go. But then he was one of the 2 guys drafted this year. So pretty exceptional for him to be able to do that. And so I'm really excited for him to show people what he can really do, because Malcolm was more in the spotlight and he kind of just let him have it, but he was also producing out there too. Obviously he got drafted to the NFL. If he wasn't producing, he wouldn't have been in that position, especially the Cowboys. So, but yeah, so I'm excited to see what he does and how he proves himself and shows people that he is a name to have for himself as well.
Yeah, as a Cowboy fan, I'm looking forward to see what he can do for us. And obviously Jerry Jones and the whole staff, they love taking chances on these players that people don't know. And I'm kind of and kudos to Jerry Jones for giving him a chance, and let's see what he can do. And Devin, did you joke once he got drafted? I don't know if did you reach out to him, and if you did you joke with him that he's going to stay a Cowboy?
I didn't reach out when he got drafted. I figured he had a million people, and like I said, I had only said hello to him a few times in passing, so we didn't really know each other that well. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, hey, congrats, I haven't seen you, so congrats. But my dad is a diehard Cowboys fan, so the minute that he got drafted, he was texting me, oh my gosh, Devin, oh my gosh. And so I told him that, and I said my dad was so excited. I think he was more excited than I was for you, and he was laughing. But yeah, so when I posted with him at some point, I said, former Oklahoma State Cowboy and current Dallas Cowboy. So, when I say my fellow Cowboy, it's like, which one am I talking about? But yeah, so he definitely congratulated him this past week when I saw him, but I didn't want to step on any toes by reaching out when I didn't really know him. So
so I got to bring this up too. We had Brian Urlacher on our show 2 years ago. And,
really?
And I saw you're connected with the Urlacher family. And how did that come about? And it was an honor talking to him. Obviously, a great player, Hall of Famer. We spoke to him 2 years ago. And how did that come about?
So his daughter Pamela did the camp with me for the Dallas Cowboys. So I met her there, and she's amazing. I love her. She has a great story, and she's someone that I'm super glad to have met and have in my life now. So
wow. Yeah. So we have another question from one of our fans. They want to know, what advice would you give to each young girl out there right now that are trying to reach their goal, like you and other women out there? What advice would you give them? Absolutely.
I would say, first off, reach out to people just in your position. I mean, not everyone might be as accessible to talk to, but I'm always around. So if you need to reach out to me, let me know what you need. But just kind of talk to people and just look at people that are in the position that you want to be in, because if you can kind of see what they did and, look at their pathway, it might be able to lead you down the way that you should be going. And also just don't listen to anyone who tells you that you can't, because I mean, I didn't have a lot of it. I know a lot of my friends that have had a lot worse than I have, but there were definitely a couple people that were skeptical when I said I was going into sports and wanted to talk about sports and be on camera and everything that I want to do. But just don't listen. And it's so much easier said than done, but not letting those types of things affect you and just believing in yourself is the most important thing for sure. And that goes with everything. Just someone tells you can't do it, what do they know? And what does it matter? Don't let it affect you. And just as long as you believe in yourself, you'll be good. But also just, like I said, just looking at people and getting connected with people who are where you want to be. or getting there too. Like I said, I have a great network of women who are older than me that are doing what I want to do now, and also who are my age and same thing, trying to get to that level. So just people around you that are doing what you want to do. And I mean, just be a resource. Like I said, I'm always available. So helping others can help yourself as well, because you give great advice to others. And then, I mean, for me personally, I can always give advice and then I can't take my own. So I'm trying to start to do that now, but just kind of listen to everything, soak everything in, and get involved early, because I did get involved pretty early in my freshman year, but I was just a counselor for a sports media camp here at Oklahoma State. And the things that those kids are doing in just a few days, and they're in high school and they're like, I know I'm going to do this and I've been doing this so far. Just get involved and make sure that you're doing what you love. That way, once you get to college, you can really get involved and focus on it. But I just say, as early as you can figure out what you're doing and get some experience, then do that.
You gotta be versatile in this industry. Like for us, not only we have this, we like I said, we work for FanDuel also, and we also work for Jersey Sporting News. It's a local sports where we live, and we cover local sports and pro teams down there. We get to interview players in person too. But same thing like what you do, and it's really important to be versatile in this business. In order where you want to go, you have to be versatile. So
yes.
So tell our fans about your podcast, and how often you guys record, and how often do you have guests on?
Yeah, so I was a camera person, so I was not on camera for it. We have 3 hosts, which was Jessica Maury. She ended up leaving Oklahoma State, so she isn't here anymore, but Dave Hunziker and Casey Kendrick. So the 3 of them, then the 2 of them towards the end of the year, would have a coach on of whatever season. So during the fall, we would have Coach Gandia on, and then during the winter, we'd have Coach Boynton and Coach Littell on. Oh. And then in the spring, we would have Coach Holiday and Coach Gajewski. And so sometimes also there's obviously other sports going on as well. Those are just like our main 5 that we really promote, but sometimes we'd have on our our tennis coaches or our golf coaches. So we have other, and track and cross country. So there was other coaches that would pop in as guests as well, equestrian too. And then typically it would be Dave and Casey talking to coaches, and then Jessica would talk to the players. And so when she left, then Dave and Casey took that over too, but it would be typically 2 coaches or 1 coach and then a player or 2 every week. So that's not currently going on. We only do it when it's in season, but yeah, so we'll see what that'll look like for this year as well. But.
Yeah. So speaking of tennis, have you been watching the Wimbledon tournament so far?
I have not. I say, because of how much sports I watch, or how much sports I watch when I work and how much I work in sports, when I go home, I try not to think too much or watch sports, which summertime is different since there's no games going on here. But I have been keeping up on my phone, so I know a little bit about what's going on, but watching wise, I have not had much time. I also don't have cable here, so I need to figure out how to get it from my computer. I guess I can get an HDMI cord, but get it on my TV, because I love just watching on the TV, sitting back on the couch versus my computer. So but yeah, so I just, when I go home and I have worked a whole basketball game, I'm not going to go home and watch NBA and things like that. So I was just talking about this with my friend yesterday, but I have been keeping up with my phone, so long story short.
Yeah, so one of our fans want to know, obviously you mentioned earlier you're a Seahawks fan, but they want to know if you're a fan of any other sports like NBA or baseball.
Yeah, so I'm not a big baseball watcher. I never really was into baseball until I started working at the college level. So baseball wise, I went to some Mets games when I was younger. My cousin was a diehard Mets fan, so we would always just go to games for him, which I don't really remember them. I was that young, but so baseball wise, I don't really follow any team specifically. I just I'll hear a lot about Red Sox and Yankees and Mets just from where I'm from in Connecticut. But then football wise, Seahawks has been it. So my story about how I got to the Seahawks is kind of interesting. Not really, but to me. So I was born a Cowboys fan because my dad decided. He put me in a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader outfit for my first Halloween and all of that. And then I grew up with my cousin who was 4 years older than me, and he was a diehard Eagles fan. And so as I started to get older, I listened to everything that he told me. So when he told me that he was an Eagles fan, he said, "You're also an Eagles fan." I said, "Okay," which broke my dad's heart because I was an Eagles fan living in a Cowboys fan.
Come on.
I know. And so finally I got to an age where, I mean, he told me everything that was like, he made my favorite color green and he made my favorite sports teams and all that. And so finally I got to an age where I was like, I can make my own decisions. Let me take control of this. So I loved Richard Sherman at Stanford. And so when I said, wherever he gets drafted, that's where I'm going to go.
Oh, wow.
And so when he went to the Seahawks, I followed him and I've just stayed ever since. Obviously he's left, Marshawn's left, Bobby's left, Russell, like everyone that was there when Legion of Boom, like when I was a big fan, that they're no longer there, but Cam Chancellor. But yeah, so now I'm just still kind of, I claim the Seahawks still just for my younger self, but I kind of just like to just watch the games. I'm Cowboys fan for my dad. He loves the Cowboys. My mom's a Dolphins fan, so I don't mind them. They don't really affect me. So I stay with them for her. And then after going to Atlanta this past few weeks ago, organization was amazing. I loved it. The people were great. We met with the GM, Terry. Wow. He was amazing. Yeah. So definitely going to keep following them for as long as everyone's there too. So
yeah, Seahawks, I mean, they're in rebuilding mode, and obviously I think it was time for Russell to move on to a different team, and I hope he does good in Denver. Yes. But I think that it's going to take a while for him to adjust there with the high altitude, but I think he'll eventually adjust there perfectly. But let's speak on the Falcons. Obviously, you got an opportunity to go there to visit the facility, and what was that experience like? Because the Falcons have a great facility, I heard.
Yes, no, it was great. I took pictures in front of all of the signs because they were all so pretty and so cool. But yeah, definitely a really great facility. I'm glad we didn't get to spend too much time exploring or anything, so I didn't get to see the whole thing. But just beautiful from what I could see. And then obviously the team was great. We got to meet with their rookies as well. So, and my rookie was from Connecticut. He went to Central Connecticut State University, and we live 20 minutes apart in our hometown. So that was cool to be able to connect with him all the way out there. But yeah, just great people, great place in terms of the facilities, but love the program too. So
wow. Yeah, so one of your fans want to know, who's your favorite NBA team?
My favorite NBA, oh, that's right, I didn't answer that earlier. So I have only ever been to Celtics games.
Oh wow.
Obviously being in Connecticut, it's either New York or Boston. So I'm a big, I've kind of taken a pause for the 4 years I'm in college, but I've always been, for college basketball, a Duke fan, and everyone rolls their eyes typically. But something about it, I'm obviously I live in UConn territory, and I always like to go against what everyone likes. So everyone loved UConn, hated Duke. So I just wanted to be a Duke fan. I didn't understand when I was saying that I was a Duke fan, the weight of that. I didn't understand how great they were and historically and everything, but I just really liked the colors because they were the same colors as my eyes. And, that was my reasoning. And so then I started to kind of get more into it. And so Jason Tatum obviously went to Boston, and that's when I was like, okay, I got to go see a game. Me and my other friend who's a diehard Duke fan, we were like, we have to go see him. Like, now he's only an hour and a half away. So, and we went to a game against the Sacramento Kings, which at the time Marvin Bagley was there. So we got to see, and Harry Giles. So we got to see Jason play against the two of them. And so it was great. But yeah, so I have only really been to Celtics games. But I more so follow the players that I like. So I don't really claim the Celtics. Just for that reason. I don't claim any team. I just kind of am like, okay, like how many players are like on this team, and their stories versus the other team, and I kind of cheer based off of that. But I love with basketball being able to watch and not feel a type of way after the game, because obviously with Oklahoma State, win or loss, that will kind of affect me when I go home. But now with professional sports, it's kind of like, okay, I don't have to, work late now because we won, or I don't have to work, late because we lost, like whatever it is. So yeah, I don't really have any attachments to a particular team, but just the players that I like. So
yeah, Jason Tatum, obviously a great player, and obviously Duke, coming from Duke. And are you a big Kyrie fan coming from Duke?
Yeah. So I actually, when I was in high school, worked with Michael Lancaster. And so he is a basketball trainer that Kyrie had worked with as well. So hearing like his stories about Kyrie kind of made me like him a little bit more too. But yeah, definitely have always loved Kyrie. But
yeah, so we got to get you connected. one of her co-hosts. She sometimes helps out with us with our team, and her name is, I don't know if you know her, Gabi Hill, but
Okay.
yeah, she has her own podcast called Boston Ballin'. She's a huge Boston sports fan, and we had to get you connected with her because she's amazing, amazing talent in the women in sports industry, and we got to get you on her podcast because you guys will connect well, being from Connecticut also, and I think you guys will connect. So I'm gonna connect you with Gabi. So
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, no problem. So a couple more things here before we let you go. Tell your fans what are you most looking for. I mean, tell our fans what are you most looking forward to this upcoming the rest of your college with Oklahoma State, and then what are you most looking forward to with Laura Oakman, continuing to build with her, and also the future.
Yeah, so here I'm just excited to get experience and wherever I can and with whoever I can. So kind of just building. I like to, like we talked about versatility a little bit before. I like to make sure that I know as much about behind the camera as I do in front of it, and editing and everything. That way, when I go to present myself to a future employer, I can say, oh, I can do your stand-ups, but I can also shoot my own stand-ups, and I can edit them after, and I can do this, and this. So just kind of being able to make sure that I'm well-rounded in every single area. I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is just kind of throwing myself to the fire and figuring everything out. As well as just kind of enjoying this last couple of years of being a college student. And I have very bad work-life balance. I have zero balance. And so I was talking to Shireen Williams, who works for the Cowboys, she's a writer. And so she was kind of saying, take an hour of your day to just do something that's nothing to do with sports. And I said, oh, okay, well, I do it already. I go to the animal shelter. And she said, okay, well, now you're doing something right. So focus on, remembering that you're doing that. And I said, okay. So I'm going to continue doing that, but just kind of learning that as much as I love my job and I love working, and it's important to get experience, that at the same time, I only have 2 more years to really not have, have that freedom and not have those commitments necessarily. So, and to just spend time with my friends that I won't maybe see for a while after this. So just kind of prioritizing the people in my life as well as work. I struggled with that a lot first semester of my sophomore year, just always in the office, always doing something and making myself busy. But at the same time, I need to make room for the people around me as well. So just kind of spending time with them, I think, is something that I should really say I'm looking forward to other than work. And then in terms of just after with Laura, continuing to talk to her and lean on her and use her mentorship to my advantage, and just, she's super accessible and she's super easy to talk to. So whenever I need something, I mean, I'm going to be reaching out to her at the end of this week just to talk about some stuff going on right now. But it's just like, she's just such a great resource, and she's, oh my gosh, I just love her. She's so amazing. So just continuing to build that relationship. And then just after college, wherever life takes me, and just being willing to go wherever, and location wise, not be picky, and just kind of wherever life takes me, I'm super excited to see where I go.
All we can say is the hard work you do now, it's amazing, and continue doing the hard work. But when you hit 21, you got to party. That's when you need to relax, relax and die down and go enjoy your nightlife when you hit 21.
Yes, it's gonna be hard because, like I said, on Saturday nights I leave around 1 a.m. So by that time I'm ready to go to bed. But I'll try not to be a super grandma during my last couple of years, and just let myself relax and be a student as well as a worker. So
yeah. So before we get to the last 2 things, being 2 podcasts in now as a guest, how do you feel?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so the last 2 things, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach. He's now coaching at Grambling State University. And we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, make sure the community stays safe, the kids stay safe. And it's still horrible out there what we're seeing with human trafficking. And we're trying to stop that right now. And we'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
Okay, yes, please do. I'd love to look at that.
Yeah, and the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
Yeah, just thank you for your hard work, your dedication, and for keeping us all safe and putting yourself at risk so that the rest of us can make sure that we're in the shape that we need to be. So I appreciate everything.
Yeah, so before we close this out, tell our fans where they can find you on social media, and tell them what you guys have coming up next.
Yes, so all of my social medias are Toni Wetmore at ToniWetmore. By all, I mean Twitter and Instagram because that's all I'm on. And then LinkedIn, I'm also just Toni Wetmore. So feel free to find me on there. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So, and just, keep grinding, keep pushing. If you're watching this and you're listening to this and you're not sure what you're doing in life, totally fine. No worries. There's no rush. Life goes on and you'll find your place. And if you've already found it, then congratulations, and just keep pushing and keep grinding. So that's what I want to end with.
Well said. And there you have it. That wraps up episode 1023 with the amazing, talented, inspiring video creator, in-game host for Oklahoma State University Sports, Toni Wetmore. Like she said, go check her out on Instagram, Twitter, go follow her, go reach out to her for any advice. Whoever wants to be in the sports industry, she's a great person to connect with. And Toni, I just want to say thank you for joining today. It was truly an honor, and I learned a lot from your story. And amazing. Keep up the great work. We would love to have you back on the show so you can meet the full team. But continued success with Oklahoma State, and also continuing to build with Laura. I mean, she's amazing. Like I said, amazing person to learn from, and you have it in the right way. And like I said, thank you, and continue to grow the woman in sports, and continue to rock.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on, and I would definitely love to come back and head back up. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime. That was awesome.
Thank you.